Thank you all for joining us today. Precision component manufacturing is undergoing a sea change in India today. India boasts of over 200,000 OEMs in the space of manufacturing, not just limited to precision and other forms of high IP-driven manufacturing. But with this 200,000 plus network, India today caters to over $150 billion worth of export manufacturing. This is a very interesting story and a very interesting time in India today. The entire ecosystem is undergoing the transition, given the kind of demand that is coming due to China plus one shifts in strategies for OEM across the world. It's also coming in with the need for India to manufacture its own domestic capabilities to enhance our supply for domestic circles, and also to be able to cater to high quality, high caliber, high IP driven products for the international ecosystem. At Machine MaaS, we are undergoing a very similar change. We are contributing to this effort within the country with our very tech driven, engineering focused manufacturing approach. Today, I'm very, very happy to welcome Eric Shamway here. Eric is our VP for our North American businesses. He's been around with Machine MaaS for over 6 months now. Welcome on board.
Thank you.
Welcome to this interview, Eric. Eric is based out of Phoenix in Arizona and has been with us, like I mentioned, for about 6 months now. Amazing contributions coming in from our North American markets. We have been witnessing a lot of changes in the way we are executing projects. We have been witnessing a surge in demand coming in from North American markets. And we'll take this time to talk to Eric to figure out what is happening right now, what are our future plans, and also figure out what different are we doing at Machine MaaS. So welcome, Eric.
Thank you.
Thanks for being
Great to be here.
So we'll start with the fundamentals, Eric. What do you like about Machine MaaS? What drove you to join us?
Oh, that's a great question. I could probably answer it by saying there's nothing I don't like. I like everything that I've experienced with Machine MaaS, but I think ultimately it's the platform. You know, you built a company based on a technology that really helps bring the OEMs together with the manufacturing that might otherwise be incredibly difficult or take a long time to get there. So being able to have a platform that draws these two entities together while also creating this engineering-driven organization that helps bridge those two, it's been amazing. You know, I have a question for you. You've got this amazing ecosystem in India, but what was the spark? What was it that kind of drove you to actually create Machine MaaS?
Growing demand, yes, the macroeconomics of it, that's one of the drivers, but not the first bit of it, right? If you look at how the ecosystem is distributed today, a lot of the manufacturing that kind of happens is fairly commoditized, not essentially driven by high IP content and value-driven manufacturing. So that was one of the key drivers. And also, we figured, owing to my past experience, that there were a lot of white spaces on how our SME ecosystem is accessing, accepting, and executing some of these needs from the international market. And it seemed like a brilliant space to kind of bring in a layer of technology to assist not just in what is happening today in the economy, but also to prepare ourselves for the future, right? We anticipate that in a 5-year horizon, this export capability in India is going to grow about 5 times. And SMEs are already delivering close to 50% of that output for exports. So we don't need to tell them how to manufacture, but we are here to work with them very closely to enable the connect with customers, enable manufacturing more efficiently, and essentially the ability to do all of these things was a key driver in starting out Machine MaaS.
That's great.
Yeah, and I'm guessing you having seen or met with some of the vendors as part of the ecosystem in your stay here and travel through India. What is your first sense of how this is all? Is it how you anticipated it to be? Has it been shocking?
No, I wouldn't say anything's been shocking. It is what I anticipated. I've seen a number of very talented organizations, operations with great capabilities. It does remind me of an earlier part in my career. You know, for roughly 20 years, I was almost all China-centric. And I saw the evolution of a number of industries there that grew as more and more companies adopted them. You're so much further ahead than where they were 20 years ago. That this ecosystem that you're now bringing together under the Machine Maze platform is so well poised to not just, you know, grow as you've talked about, but to be able to grow and support high value companies through North America and Europe and who knows, you know, the world eventually. But it really has been remarkable, the people that we've met, the organizations that are committed and part of this network, very talented, and I see a clear path for that growth that you're talking about.
Fantastic. I actually have another additional question to this. In terms of capabilities coming out, right? Manufacturing, yes, it's a product of machines and systems that you run. What is your observation on India's engineering capabilities?
Well, I think in North America, and I certainly can't talk for everybody, but I believe that there's a general belief that India has some of the strongest engineering resources in the world. Most everyone that you meet that's Indian, that's in the United States, has come there for graduate school for additional engineering, or, you know, they already have an engineering degree. Since joining the company, that has never been more obvious. I believe that about 95 or more % of the people a part of Machine Maze are engineers. And, you know, regardless of the role that they're in, they have that engineering background, that process and very clear way of doing things. And that is a huge advantage, whether it's from a program manager that's working with the partner factory, being able to explain to a customer what's really going on, or one of the engineers that are actually taking on engineering projects from our customers and executing at an extremely high level. That engineering ethos is clearly throughout the organization. Now, I can tell you, in working with manufacturing companies in North America, when they're looking to expand and they're trying to make sure that they're aligned with the right companies, there's really one thing that comes up every single time, and that's about quality. And I hear a question asked pretty consistently: how do we manage quality at Machine Maze to ensure that what they order is exactly what they get consistently?
So we've made considerable investments as far as quality is concerned. And to us, this is essentially, I would say, about a 3-layered approach, right? Basic quality consciousness comes in from the ability to get your partner factories to deliver to quality. There is tech available in terms of coordinate measurement systems and VMS systems available. You have certified engineers who are capable of doing that. And you also have to pick the right supply partner who learns processes with you. So PPAPs, FAIs are a cornerstone of what we do at Machine Maze here. So there's a strong people and process-driven ethos that's built around quality. But that's just the start. We have started to look at and adopt Industry 4.0 practices. We actually are already building video surveillance-based quality management approaches available, right? And this is a program that we are very closely working with IIT Madras, which is a premium institute in India, to put together. The next layer would definitely be the Industry 5.0 and all the connected approaches, virtual factories, virtual quality manufacturing. So as we continue to build more and more parts, we'll make better progress in the first tier that we already have in place. The second tier is coming into action right now. And so we wish to clear that gap really fast in terms of how we accelerate ourselves towards a Six Sigma and a high-tech quality process in place. We've delivered 5 million parts at high quality, and I can assure you it's not magic. So we have been doing some of the basics absolutely right, and we'll keep this tempo going.
I have a follow-up to that. we've talked about partner factories. We've talked about these SMEs, which I know a lot of companies or people hear SME and think subject matter expert, but in this case, we're talking about small to medium enterprises. What we've coined this company or this product offering is manufacturing as a service. Manufacturing as a service isn't necessarily brand new, but the machine maze approach to manufacturing as a service is definitely unique. How would you say that our manufacturing as a service differs from others in the industry?
We are thinking of the future today, right? So to us, the key differentiator has always been the tech stack. And you've witnessed what we are building in our manufacturing stack. We recently patented it. We have the design intelligence coming out. We have the product intelligence or production intelligence coming out. And we also have our data-driven analytic approach in the back end. Now, this market has fantastic scope for aggregation. Now, that's essentially data-driven. The gap between what OEMs want in the form of output and how the industry is able to do them today is very wide. The stack is not uniform. It's a little all over the place, including data formats for metadata, for three-dimensional data that these OEMs produce today. That's a fundamental problem in the industry today, right? We are connecting all of this in our journey towards manufacturing. So it's not just customers, the current manufacturing that's going on, but the problem that we are essentially solving for is how do we scale the 5 to 50 efficiently, deal with complexity, and create this at high velocity. In future, that is a key differentiator for us. Currently, with our first versions of dashboards which are out and that you have witnessed, the level of transparency that the system is providing, and subject matter experts within the team who are available on constant calls with the customer. So we are starting this out from an experience standpoint. And forgive me for using the word, manufacturing has never been sexy, right? For a customer abroad, how do you make this a very, very cherishable experience? That's what we are driving towards to start with. And we kind of extend that with the dashboards and the data that we provide from a point of view of transparency to the customer. And the third phase is essentially the manufacturing tech stack. So there's a three-phased approach to this, and we're making progress in all ends.
It's been remarkable. I having seen it from an introduction where when I was first introduced to the company, I looked at the platform and immediately I could see that this was something uniquely different. I've been in manufacturing for 30 years. I've seen a lot of manufacturing companies. I've seen companies that aggregate partners, but I had never seen anything like the Machine Maze platform. And as a result, we've had an opportunity to introduce this to a number of companies, and the response that we've seen has been remarkable. One of the things that I find interesting is that depending on who you're talking to within a company, they like different things about the platforms. You got quality people who recognize that at a push of a button, I can see a lot of the metrics and the data that I really need to see from my supply partners. Executive levels see different things, and purchasing sees an ease of being able to adopt this and place orders, see where their orders are in the phase of the production. So the platform itself provides a tremendous amount of transparency and support to these companies. And that's just remarkable. I guess one question that I have is, if you had a crystal ball and you could look in that crystal ball today and see, where do you see Machine Maze being in, say, 5 years?
With growth in international markets, I would really think that the next 5 years are going to be hypercritical for us in terms of fulfilling emerging demand in these markets. We are very well positioned as a company that can deal with complexity in manufacturing, and you'd see that with the kind of products that we are building for the North American markets today, right? And that's clearly the path to go towards. And so with us continuing our journey in that direction with multi-component, high-value sub-assemblies with high IP content in them for the industry verticals, really looking for a solution that you can't really go to one vendor and get them manufactured, right? I see a lot of value there. So from a 5-year horizon perspective, of course, as he surges in revenue, all that apart, I see us adding a lot of value in that direction and building a very tangible ecosystem that will partner with us in such complex tasks. And that is going to be a big win for us, right? And the tech in the back end is going to enable us to accelerate this process, increase that much needed velocity to be able to deliver to our customers. So I would say 150, 200 million-ish in terms of export revenues. That would be a great space to be in. But creating high level of customer stickiness, repeatability, and high value products, I think we would have achieved a lot if we get to that point in 5 years. No, and I want to extend that question to you, right? You've been a part of a lot of action that's been happening lately, especially in the North American markets. And since we've been mentioning surge in demand, I want to pause here and talk to you about China manufacturing. You've been a veteran. You've been in China. You've traveled extensively there. You've seen how the ecosystem has developed. And this is something that we've been constantly discussing, right? Now there's an additional leverage on tariffs that we are seeing out of India. How is all this superimposing for you in terms of you looking at the future and saying, hey, this could either be a really massive opportunity or this could be a very focused opportunity for us to build something that's sustained. How do you envision this?
That's a great question. And the tariff situation obviously is fluid. No one knows where it's going to be or stop or change to. So the idea that we build something that's heavily influenced by tariffs is really not the direction I see Machine Maze. The beauty of Machine Maze is, again, we've taken this ecosystem of amazing manufacturing companies who may not have really had the ability to expand their reach and find the right OEMs that they want to work with, and vice versa. China, as we talked about, has seen incredible growth, and they've taken on a lot of the world's manufacturing. But as a result of that, there's a lot of companies that are quite uncomfortable having so much in one basket. So even before tariffs were a factor, there were a lot of companies that had already identified that they needed an alternative solution to being so totally China. And as we're out there talking to companies, we're hearing very regularly that our goal is to diversify, in some cases move completely away from that supply chain, but at a minimum diversify their supply chain so that they have some safety and redundancy in many cases. There's no question that through the conversations that I've had, that most of them look at India as the primary location. And that has so much to do with the strength of engineering, the variety of resources that are available here. But now when you introduce the platform that Machine Maze has offered, that ties all of that together. And companies are loving this. They're able to identify the right factories very quickly. And then that's very important. But not every company has the ability to quickly jump on an airplane and come down and see where they're at. So being able to know who's manufacturing their part, where they're manufacturing their part, where that part is in the process of the supply chain is hugely beneficial. And that's gaining a lot of traction. As we talk to these companies, to a person, they love that. And so as we continue to expand that that cooperation from OEM and supply partner with Machine Maze as being the bridge, I see that growth just growing exponentially, and companies adopting this because it makes life easier. That's really the biggest thing. No one wants to make their life harder, and when they can work within this platform, it really makes it easier.
Fantastic. And you spoke of engineering, right? We are trying to house ourselves with engineering capabilities. We have a strong engineering team that we have put in with all the tech that's available in the market today. We've been trying to tie in customers' manufacturing demands to problems of design for manufacturing and problems of general component and assembly design, product lifecycle management, product design management solutions, everything, right? So that you can get your product out into the manufacturing space efficiently and get things done fast. How do you feel companies are receiving the kind of engineering support that we are able to provide them?
They're very well, very well. There's so many areas that we could delve into with that. But one of the things that I have heard consistently is how valuable the engineering resources that we have been to the team. Without saying specifically who the customer is, we have one customer that actually molds their own plastic in-house. They have their tools made. They're an expert, and they have outsourced a number of products to us, which required us to create some very intricate tools in the injection mold field. Our engineers were able to take these designs, came back, and we have regular meetings with them, which the customers absolutely love. But they came back and said, here's a way that we would like to approach it. And we believe that you're going to have a better product, easier to manufacture, and ultimately it will cost you less as a result of that. And again, this is a company that does this for a living.
Yeah.
And so their response was, that's pretty interesting. I'd like to explore that further.
Yeah.
2 weeks passed. We've now got the flow mold analysis. We're doing the tool review. And they said at the end of that meeting, we love this approach. We're going to do this now as a standard for all of our tools. And so that's just one anecdotal experience, but it's not truly unique. This is actually something that we've seen across the board on every program that we've engaged, because our engineers are engineers. They're able to look at a product and identify when something could be done better. You talked about the design for. We're now, as you know, designed for manufacturability, designed for shipping, designed for a lot of different things in that supply chain that are ultimately going to make the customer's life better, drive cost out. And this goes across the board, from cast metal parts, sheet metal parts, machined parts, injection molded plastics, moving on into that box build. So I just touched on a bunch of products.
Yeah.
These are obviously the kind of foundation of where we started. Are there any new products or services that you anticipate Machine Maze moving into?
You brought in the box build angle to everything that we're doing, right? So there is demand coming in from our customers for entire box builds of what we do. Most things are mechatronic in nature today, so there's an essential PCB and a PCBA angle coming in, cables and harnesses. So there is this need now to be able to fulfill complete assemblies, for us to cover ourselves in capabilities to fulfill and do a little bit of electronics manufacturing too. And I know you are a veteran in that space, so we are definitely, we've dived into that space. We've just started beating our legs in this space, but being able to do this has accelerated a lot of things in conventional manufacturing for us, essentially go into complete assemblies. So I think that's the direction that we will continue to take in the foreseeable future. And that also gives us the ability to give in finished products to our customer. And I know 2 to 3 products are already in line towards completion. So that'll be a great space for us to be in.
Yeah. That made me think of another question around companies that are outsourcing their production. They are looking at Machine Maze, and maybe in the beginning they're going to put their toe in the water. But all of them have this same question. You've got a network, a substantial network of some 600 plus SMEs that we've engaged with. They want to understand, how do we engage with them? How do we ensure that these are genuinely great partners that they can feel comfortable with for the long run in manufacturing?
Which is where the ecosystem approach comes in, right? We do have 600 partners, and to be very honest with you, we're not doing justice to it. We are a small company, we are growing, right? And so it's essential to keep them to actively partner with us for upcoming projects. The extended assistance that I think a lot of these SME partners are appreciating from our side today is One, with respect to raw material supply on all the export projects that we are doing, because working capital is a big challenge in the market today, especially for smaller SMEs, right? Second is we are actually taking them to an export market, which is otherwise a little difficult to access. So it's a win for them from that point of view, enhanced margins, greater customer contact, ability to work on premium products. The third is the engineering handholding. There's a lot of engineering that happens before you load a part onto the machine, and the team has been very active in involving themselves. So essentially, and I keep saying this again and again, we are not a supply chain solution company, but we are an engineering and a manufacturing company. So that engineering value is something SMEs have started to appreciate, right? So we feel we are making their jobs a lot easier. And that's the kind of value you got to bring into the process, right? It has to be bi-directional. And I think finally, with our initiatives with IIT Madras and Walmart Center for Technology Excellence, we are actually building solutions that our SME partners can use. We've had a recent gathering in IIT Madras about a month ago where 4 of our partners had breakthrough solutions built exclusively by the team from IIT and deployed onto their manufacturing facilities. And they've all started to leverage out of this. So as long as the transaction is bi-directional, as long as you add value back into the ecosystem and not just in terms of carrying out manufacturing and bringing in, we see a lot of potential for us to work together and stay tight. And we are working towards that. And we've made great progress in that direction. Yeah. So and I'm sure we are running out of time. So you have been quite prolific for us at MachineMaze. You have built in feet on the ground in over 20-25 states in the United States and Canada in a quick period of time. So that's a lot. That's a lot going on. We've been seeing amazing RFQ traction coming in for not just commodity-based products, but really high-class, high-caliber, high IP-driven components and products. How much of a role, or do you think in today's day and age, the cultural difference is playing any hindrance for you, or is it actually helping accelerate this process for you?
Yeah, I would definitely say there's no hindrance. One of the challenges sometimes has been communication, where companies, whether it was China or Mexico, struggled sometimes with the communication. India being an English-speaking nation, that definitely makes things much easier. But again, we talked about the engineering. There's clearly an ecosystem of engineering that people recognize. So I would say India has been quite a favor. We like that. People are definitely recognizing the need for that, and the adoption of the platform is only going to continue to grow exponentially. So I see it as a great thing. One last question for you. Yeah. What keeps you up at night? When you're thinking about MachineMaze and where things are going, anything keeping you up at night?
I've been having peaceful night sleep these days, but essentially the core problems that we are trying to solve is in terms of, I think the biggest issue is velocity. Velocity of, responding to customers and accelerating the entire process, right? It is going to take some time for tech to catch pace with what is happening. And considering you've been bringing in a lot to our plate lately, right? It's about how do we operationally fulfill everything that's happening. It's a great problem to solve. I'm really, really happy we are at that place where we are trying to solve fundamental manufacturing issues and acceleration problems and velocity. That is what has been giving me sleepless night. But again, I reiterate, that's a great problem to solve. And we have a fantastic team with us. And
great.
Collectively, we are trying to put our heads together to solve that problem.
Clearly, I don't wish to cause you sleepless nights, but if there's going to be a reason, I think that's a good one.
That's a good one, right? So thank you so much for being here today. Enjoy your rest of your trip, and hopefully we get to show you a few nice places around too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.